Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 45 of the Anime Banter podcast with your hosts, Turtle, Sean, and Mike. Thank you for joining us today. How you guys doing?
I'm pretty freaking annoyed right now because my microphone decided to act up for an hour before we start recording.
Yeah, we've had some technical difficulties. Hopefully, we won't have any issues during the recording session.
Please forgive us if we do.
I'm about ready to punt my microphone, see how far I can go. Maybe I'll give it to Pat McAfee at WrestleMania and he can punt it.
Well, normally we do some bantering about our lives and things, but there's a lot that goes on in these two episodes. This is a pretty long script that we have, so do you guys just want to jump right in?
Yeah, I think it's for the best.
Sounds good.
All right, so today we are talking about episodes 11 and 12 of Frieren Beyond Journey's End. Episode 11 Winter in the Northern Lands. The episode opens with Frieren's party meeting up and praying for the dead soldier's aura possessed. Graf shows up and thanks Frieren, who is trying to run away. Stark tells her that she has been pardoned from all of her crimes by Graf. And then Fern tells Frieren that she did a good job not destroying all the armors of the fallen. Frieren responds by saying Himmel would get mad at her for using big flashy spells. Stark agrees and says they should be respectful for the dead. Frieren congratulates her party members for defeating the demons, but wishes Stark didn't get so beat up. She tells him he looks like death itself.
I got a really good laugh at Stark calling Groff an old softy when he's like, oh yeah, Groff pardoned you. He's such an old softy.
Graf tells his men to make sure the soldiers receive proper burials and that he will escort Frieren and the others himself. One of Graf's men finds Graf's son, and Graf says that he has never been more thankful to Frieren. The music behind this scene is just absolutely beautiful.
I loved this music. It was somber yet beautiful. And also, for whatever reason, in my mind, I thought Groff's son was like, I don't know, like 10 or 11. I wasn't expecting him to be like a full grown adult.
Oh, I thought they kind of made it clear that he died fighting, right?
Yeah, he did mention that. Plus, I mean, they put some extra lines on Graf's face, so you can tell he's definitely a little bit older.
True.
Fair.
That could have been stress of leading a country or a town.
Or inviting demons into his house.
Yeah, but not only was the music just so good, I think it's really touching that Groff gets his closure. His son passed, but now that like Aura is defeated and he's seen what happened to his son, he can move on and focus on leading the town, uh, while not seeking vengeance the whole time. So I'm really happy for Groff. I feel like he's had a pretty good story arc here over the past few episodes.
Back in the city, Graf gives Frieren Flama's book on the barrier. He tells her that the book is a fake, which Frieren says she already knew that. The actual barrier spell is passed down by mouth and not written in a book. Graf tells her she does not have to be so formal towards him. Frieren recalls the time that Himmel and Eisen almost were executed for talking to the king in the Central Lands. And I love that callback again. Very funny. Stark thanks Graf for not being unreasonable. Just then, the door swings open and reveals this guy with an axe, and Stark starts freaking out. It turns out he was just the gardener.
Couple things. Loved the brief flashback we got of Himmel and Eisen about to be like possibly being executed for talking poorly to the king. Then Stark freaking out at the gardener was hilarious, to the point that he was so scared he was petrified and he was black and white, which was a nice touch. And then I felt like the axe that the gardener was using was the wrong freaking tool to be pruning tree branches.
Yeah, I would say so.
Like you would expect some sort of shears or something of that nature, not like the axe he was carrying was something to chop the tree down, not to prune. It just felt it's like that is very unsafe to be wielding.
Maybe he's not a good gardener.
I think that's probably accurate. My favorite part of the scene was when the door was open, both his hands were on the axe, and whenever the door closed, both his hands were also on the axe. So at no point does the guy touch the door. The door just swings open. You see him, and then it just closes on its own. And I don't know, the visual gag. I I'm a huge fan of a visual gag. I remember one scene that always tickles me was there's a scene in the show Gurren Lagann where Kamina is like unsheathing a sword, and while he's like talking really fast and giving this monologue, and he's slowly unsheathing this sword, and then next thing you know, both of his arms are like on complete opposite sides of his body, and for some reason the sword is just bizarrely long and still in the sheath and like curving, and you're like wait, because like you're focusing on what he's saying, and you almost don't even realize that the sword is like the size of his arm span, and you just like and you laugh because it's definitely not that long. I don't know. I love a good visual gag.
Maybe this gardener is just a mage that we don't know about.
We're gonna build all this lore for the gardener now, aren't we?
Secret gardener, what can he do?
S-class mage.
We then get a montage of the party spending some time in town, helping out, as well as just hanging out. We also get a shot of Stark seeing the same gardener with his axe, and he's looking very concerned. The song they used in the montage is called Bliss, and it's by the band Millet. And that may sound familiar because it's the same artist who does the closing theme for this show.
I thought the music was a weird call. Don't get me wrong, I really loved it. But to get this musical scene where like they're even playing the lyrics along the bottom of the screen and everything, it's like okay, like it almost felt like this was supposed to be like a mid-season finale or an end of a part of the anime. And I did some digging. The mid-season finale isn't until episode 15.
I think it was just sort of to kind of highlight the end of this arc, because I think we mentioned before, this is like the biggest arc that the show has had thus far.
Yeah, I had a couple notes on the montage here. Uh, Once again, the music in this series is unreal. It's one of the best anime soundtracks I've heard in a while. We're very blessed. Some things I liked in the montage. There's a scene where Frieren and Fern seem to be eating oversized burgers or pieces of bread, and that made me laugh. More visual gags. The return of the Axeman staring creepily in the distance, as mentioned by Turtle. And at the end, they close it with the honoring of the fallen warriors, which was also that very touching. But yeah, this also it's definitely the end of an arc. Could be a mid-season finale, but it's the end of an arc, and I think that that was kind of the first long arc in the series, right? Because most of the other arcs seem to have only lasted like maybe a story got a full episode to tell a story, right? Like that's what they gave them, a full episode. But this one actually took multiple episodes to tell one story. So I don't mind a longer form version of the storytelling because it keeps things fresh. These episodes did not drag at all, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I find it really interesting that like the show, like the earlier episodes before this arc, each little story was basically like half an episode. And yeah, there was, connective tissue to connect everything together, but it was like each half an episode was its own little story, and they moved on to tell the next part, to moved on to tell the next part. This was like three and a half, 4 episodes, 4.5 episodes of, telling this one particular storyline. So it's definitely the biggest, arc, quote unquote, that we've had thus far. But I also really like the half episode format where you just get these little half stories and they keep progressing the story that way. So it's all connected, but you get it in little pieces. Now we got this big chunk of story. So I think the song they used kind of like bring us back down. I think we're going to get some shorter bits as we move forward into our next plot. After the party finishes their shopping, they head for the town exit. Groff shows up to escort them, and he tells the group the northern lands are very treacherous, and you can only travel so far without a first class mage. Frieren asks what that is. Fern shows us that she has been certified as a third class mage. Frieren holds up this old medal of some kind, but no one seems to be familiar with it. The group has a new destination, Alcest. There they can take the exam to become a first class mage.
I love how Frieren didn't realize she needed to be certified as a mage. And I with doing a lot of job hunting right now, I wonder if she'll only get get to apply for entry-level positions that require 10 years of experience.
Oh, poor Frieren. Yeah, I also wanted to point out that there was a really good quote by Fern where she says, "Please don't tell me you're an unlicensed underground mage." Like she's like appalled by this. She's disgusted. Like Frieren, don't say it ain't so. And I'm like, what do underground mages have a reputation for being bad or something? Like I totally have no clue what it means to not be registered as a mage. I mean, she hasn't been arrested yet. I don't know, but I also love the medallion that she pointed out. She's like, doesn't this count as a registration? Pretty much. Like, what is that? It looks like some out of an antique store, pretty much. And she's like, oh, guess I got to get recertified. So I don't know. I mean, I looked forward a little bit in the episodes, and apparently they may take this exam. So I think there could be some fun hijinks there. It would be interesting. I'm interested to see Freeren's level of being a mage versus other people. Because it would not surprise me if Frieren went to this place and was easily the single most powerful person there.
I will say nothing due to spoilers because I have seen ahead.
I'm looking forward to it.
Me too, every week. I can't wait for the new episode.
I want to watch ahead, guys.
Soon we'll be caught up. Then we'll be done with season 1, and it'll be sad.
Indeed. I don't want the show to end.
After last week's episode, I immediately went and laid in bed. Because by the way, for our listeners, the last 2 weeks I've not been feeling well. So sorry if it is, if you thought I haven't been on my A game for the podcast. I just haven't felt well the past 2 weeks. So I feel better today, and I can give you more insights into Frieren. But last week after we finished recording, I went to bed, laid down, and watched the 2 episodes on my phone because I just couldn't wait.
On a side note, glad you're feeling better, Sean.
Yeah, I was sick. I was seriously sick for almost 2 full weeks, and I needed that to be done.
Indeed. Welcome back.
Happy to be back.
As they travel down the road, it begins to snow. Frieren tells the others that the winters in the northern lands killed more people than the Demon King's army. We cut to our heroes in a blizzard, and Stark just passes out.
This makes so much sense because, I mean, you figure during World War II, Hitler was told not to march on Russia due to the winter, but he did so anyways. Don't underestimate winter and war.
Yeah, I want to toss out Napoleon there too. It's like they started their journey in the winter. Frieren loves staying in the same place forever. When they went to the one town, Frieren was like, "Oh, we could stop here for a short while," and Fern was like, "Frieren, how long is a short while?" And Frieren was like, "I don't know, like 2 years." And I was like, Frieren totally should have just suggested they hung out in town during winter. I don't know why they didn't.
That's kind of fair, actually. I don't have a good answer or rebuttal for that one.
Like, she knew how dangerous it was going to be. She said it.
And Groff was more than happy to keep them in town to help him out. So
Maybe she underestimated it.
28 years after the death of Himmel the Hero, in the Deck region, located in the northern lands, Frieren announces that they are lost, and Stark is just dreaming about the jumbo berry ice cream being too small. I still dream about that ice cream as well, Stark. Frieren says that they can't use any transportation magic because of the strong wind. I found that very interesting. They would just be blown across the sky. Fern begins to drag Stark through the blizzard. In a daze, Stark says that Fern smells nice. Fern asks Frieren if she can leave him there. That's not nice, Fern. That was a compliment.
Continue the shipping! Also, do we know if Stark was saying Fern smelled nice, or was he talking about the ice cream sundae?
We don't have an answer. It could be about that ice cream sundae. It
Yeah.
looks incredible.
However, based on events that happen next episode, I'm going to say that he was talking about Fern.
Ship.
Ship.
Can I also just briefly mention the tiny Eisen at the bottom of that ice cream?
I lost it at that.
I love the tiny Eisen.
It was so good. So the group finds a small emergency house at the foot of the mountain, but when Frieren opens the door, she finds another elf. This guy is doing squats Final Fantasy VII style.
Yo, those button presses for the Final Fantasy VII squats in the remake, some of those got intense.
Dude, some of them get real hard, especially in like hard mode. when you're trying to do, get all the trophies like I insanely did. Some of them get rough. Frieren tries to go inside, but Fern stops her. Fern says that they cannot go inside because there's a pervert in there.
Fern Fern just loves calling people perverts in these 2 episodes.
Yeah, she just she throws that term every episode. We are getting the pervert call out, but I'm just throwing it out there. She probably barely remembers Hyder, and he was a priest. And then she was raised on the road with free run. This is what happens when you're a person who is not used to spending time with the other sex, right? Like it's like she went to an all girls school. You know what I'm saying? And is like never interacted with a man before and thinks like all men are lecherous perverts, with ulterior motives. And I'm like, dang, Fern, give one man in this series the benefit of the doubt. Just one, please.
The elf is named Croft the Monk and says that it was so cold that his fire went out, so he started doing squats to stay alive. Frieren says that makes sense. Fern says that makes one of them.
When we met
Sorry, like, well, I love how logical the elves are. Like they're very logical. It reminds me of, like Spock, kind of
Yeah,
sometimes, because like they don't show a lot of emotion, and they tend to favor logic, and like I said, they have no attraction. Like they don't have like a desire to mate very well. Though if you watch Star Trek, I think they do have a desire to mate, but with the elves, they kind of remind me of that. They even have the ears.
when we met Croft, I'm like, "Oh, goody. Is this going to be our 4th party member?"
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of thinking the same thing. I was wondering because it's the second elf we've seen in the series. We've never seen another elf, and I'm just like, it's interesting because they spend a lot of time together here, and I feel like they make no effort to get to know each other.
as Stark is freezing to death, he dreams of the Jumbo Berry ice cream special again. And I love the depiction of this. It's like the size of a small house, and there's the Eisen underneath it giving him a thumbs up. It's just a really great scene. Stark wakes up to find himself in the arms of Croft, and he closes his eyes again. He slowly reopens them and realizes this is not a dream. He leaps out of bed shouting, "Who the heck are you?" Croft says that is no way to thank someone for donating their body heat. Stark compliments Croft's body and says that he admires the man's hard work. A true warrior's respect.
All right. So, before Croft cozied up to Stark, why did they not put Stark in front of the fireplace? Instead, Freerun was there. And they just left Stark against the wall with a blanket on.
I feel like that was Fern's doing. She's really mean to him.
She's like, he could freeze to death. What a pervert.
Hold up, she did carry him there though. I'm just throwing it out there. If she actually hated him, it was actually mean to him, she wouldn't have carried him. She actually would have left him in the snow.
True, but she was very reluctant.
That's true. I guess she looked at herself and she looked at Free Run. She's like, crap, I'm the bigger one, like physically just bigger, taller, broader than Free Ren. So she kind of just had to carry him.
I also really dug Stark recognizing Croft's workout game. Game recognizes game.
Indeed. The presentation of the scene was really good. Once again, I love visual gags and things like that. And like the slow wake up and realization was expertly done. As a fan of comedy, I give this high marks. And I am a big fan of comedy. But yeah, I like how Stark trains his body. And if you've ever been like friends with people, or maybe you yourself like to work out, guys who work out like recognizing the effort that other men put into working out. And I guess the same goes with women. Like whoever people who work out recognize other people who work out and appreciate their efforts. You know what I mean? They don't like rip each other down, but they notice and they say, "Wow, like my body's this good, but that guy's body's that good, and I wonder what the heck he's doing to look like that."
We get a montage of the party spending the winter with Croft in the house since it is too dangerous to travel. We learn that winter was 6 months long. Holy crap, I'm glad I don't live there. I hate winter.
I don't mind the snow, but that is way too long of a winter.
Way too long. But I have some words for my boy Stark. You spend 6 months in an enclosed cabin with a girl your age and nothing happens? My boy, Stark, what else were you doing? You gotta get under the blanket and huddle for warmth. We could write fan fiction about this stuff. It'd be so easy. This is just like this is I love my tropes. I think I talked it was either last week or the week before about when we're getting like the beach or the hot springs episode. Well, the skiing episode is a very popular one. While they did no skiing here, kind of the same tropes were like, oh, you get lost. They got lost on the ski trail, had to like huddle for warmth, stuff like that. I don't know. I love tropes like this. Stark didn't take any advantage. He and Fern. Well, I think he and Fern they're just not interested. I guess. I guess I have to give up on the ship.
I think you just got to give it some time because Fern's pretty cold. Had he made a move, she would have blasted him.
I was gonna say she probably called him a pervert the entire time in the cabin.
That's probably true. Also, I imagine they didn't really get to like shower, or bathe very much, so I bet that cabin stank.
Fair point. It's a realistic thing that the show doesn't really talk about much.
It's better not to talk about that kind of stuff, I think.
That's fair. I mean, you're on the road. You're sleeping outside for weeks at a time. I mean, we got to face it. People stink.
Yeah. Well, actually, that a good point though. They're probably used to it though.
Also, a good point.
Yeah, so they're probably used to it, and I don't know. I'm just saying, Stark's playing the long game.
He's not out of it yet. Croft asks Frieren why she does not believe in the goddess. Frieren says because the goddess has not shown herself since the creation myth a long time ago. Croft says he needs her to exist, so when he dies and goes to heaven, the goddess will praise him at last. Croft mentions that everyone who knew of him and his deeds are all gone. Even Frieren does not know who this guy is. How old is he?
Question 1. Free run Croft ship time? Ship, 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 ship.
Well, that's a good question. I'm gonna chime in here in the middle of that. I wondered about that myself. They talk about how they have no like real attraction between elves. I think because they live so long, like just we talked about it before, but they have no real attraction to other elves. And something about this scene leads me to believe it is not the last we've seen of Croft. I have a feeling we're going to run into him again at some point.
I'm actually very excited for that potential meeting.
I hope we get more Croft. I was not to jump much farther ahead, seeing that we're almost at the end of the episode, but I was bummed to see him leave and like depart the party.
Yeah, he seems like a very interesting character. And again, like we established that Frieren is over 1,000 years old or around 1,000 years old. For her to not know of this guy or his quote unquote heroic deeds, like how old is he? 2,000, 3,000, 5,000?
They did make it seem like he was significantly older than her, potentially. And I wonder, he said to her at one point, didn't he say that she's young?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so maybe even if they're not really attracted to each other race wise, that age gap is disgusting. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But still, she actually might be kind of young, and he might kind of see her that way. And maybe now's not the time, but maybe later when they meet back up, something will happen. Who knows?
And then on the serious side, I feel so bad for Croft. Like everyone who knew him is gone, and he just wishes to be praised by someone and to know that he indeed made a difference. And that's something that goes through my head quite a bit. Like, have I made a difference? Will people remember me when I'm gone? Like, it can get dark in my head sometimes, but it's like, should I really be thinking about those things at my age? Like, I'm not that old.
No,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah. This is
We're
existential crisis time on Anime Banter podcast. By the way, if you have problem with existential crisis stuff, don't listen to this.
I was going to say we're making a difference right here in people's lives. Right now. It's happening.
Mm, maybe.
I mean, we might have affected everyone's lives for the worse when we listened to Vending Machine.
Well, stay tuned for season 2 as I'm probably going to end up ripping it apart and using up the anime ranters I've been saving.
Maybe that'll be a banter blitz. Maybe we'll break the series in half or something. I
I'm,
can't
I,
imagine doing 6 whole episodes on season 2 of Vending Machine.
we talked about this, not to veer off course, but it's bantering. It's what we do. Uh, I made it very clear. I think all of us did that we're not really big fans of Vending Machine, and I think our views and listens have reflected that most people were not fans of this show or completely uninterested in the show. I'm actually excited to see season two to see how bad it is because I do really want to rip it apart. I'm usually not that negative or mean of a person, but I think it would be funny at least.
Fair. But yeah, Mike, I think about those things too, by the way, about the what mark will you leave on the world type of stuff, right? Especially as someone who like doesn't have kids, because I think a lot of parents pass their hopes and dreams down through their children, and if you don't have children, then I think there's a case for existential crisis. Sometimes, the biological clock ticking and things like that. But if you don't want children, then I guess you kind of take a different route. So yeah, there are a lot of different ways that you can pass your stuff down. But I'm not an academic. You know what I mean? I'm not writing textbooks. I'm not teaching the next generation anything. So for me, what mark will I leave? I don't know. It's depressing, but probably nothing really. You know, and you have to come to terms with that because, and it's very difficult to. But hey, when you have an hour commute to work every day, you think about things like that. Like, I just sit there by myself in my car. I think about that. And the other topic of this episode, the existence of God. Straight up. You ever just been driving to work or back home from work and you're like, does God exist? Let me rationalize this and think about it for the next 45 minutes. It happens to me more than you think, especially being raised Catholic. So not only am I thinking about what's the mark I'm gonna leave on this world as like a childless millennial, and then I'm also driving. I'm like, but wait, does God exist? Will I go to heaven? Is there a heaven? And all that stuff. And I hope no one listening to this is really struggling with those kinds of thoughts because it's something you have to sort out. But hey, I guess you know all you can do is your best.
And if you're listening to us on your hour commute, thank you, and I hope you enjoy our bantering.
Better to listen to this than contemplate the existence of God, probably.
I would say yes.
A little more calming.
Yeah.
Unless you're listening to this episode while you're driving, then you're thinking about God and listening to this. So,
Now we're just in a loop. We got to move on.
yeah, this is dangerous. All right, guys. Well, I was to say, I feel like Sean is no longer allowed to talk because he took it too serious. So, but that's what this show does. It fills you with existential dread. It makes you think about your feelings.
We cover all bases on this podcast. Croft tells Frieren that since she does not believe in the goddess, that he will praise her. Frieren has this flashback to Heiter and says that she has been praised enough for a lifetime. Croft makes a pendant for Fern and then leaves the party to continue his journey.
I love how in the flashback, Hyder was able to tell that Frieren was suppressing her mana and then gave her great praise for it. Like, that whole flashback was fantastic.
And it also ties into one of the earlier flashback when they first meet, where he's like, "Oh, well, Frieren has like a fifth of the mana that I do." Now, after their journey's over, he realizes that, oh, he was wrong. She's been hiding. Well, before we get into the next episode, I got a hankering for something tasty in liquid form.
Are you thinking of an adult beverage that is a beer?
You know what? That sounds pretty wonderful, actually. Would you have one?
Well, lucky for you, I do.
What have you got?
It is time for Mike's Beer of the Week. This week's beer comes to you from Founders Brewing, and it is their Four Giants Tropical Treasure, a 7.5% hazy IPA. I let out that sigh, because I was really disappointed with this beer. It's supposed to be full of pineapple, tangerine, and lemon. And I got some citrus, but not as much as I expected. They say it's supposed to have a moderate sweetness to it. I didn't get any of that. And as I was drinking, I'm like, I wonder if this beer went bad, like skunked, or just it got old and things went bad in the can. And after I finished it, I looked at the bottom of the can, and I saw that it was canned over a year ago when I drank it. So I'm guessing it just went bad because I was checking like untapped ratings of friends of mine and they were all raving about this beer. Like they were giving it 4.25s, 4.5s. Like they all loved this beer. And I did not. The average untapped rating is a 3.85. And for now, I'm giving it a 3.25. I'm hoping I can try it again in the future and I'll like it more.
Episode 12. A Real Hero. 29 years after the death of Himmel the Hero, in the Schwer Mountains, located in the Northern Lands. Alright, what's with all these German names? I was not expecting all the German style names from a Japanese anime. Not complaining, just pointing it out.
Well, I've never seen Attack on Titan. Eren Yeager.
To be fair, I've only seen season 1 and I fell off, so everybody can skewer me if they want. I know that's a huge, huge show, but I only saw season 1.
I know what you're saying though. I love the Japanese take on European fantasy. It's just fun.
As the party travels up the mountain, Frieren is lagging behind. Fern notices she is tired, and when she looks back, Frieren just face plants in the snow. Stark offers to carry her, but Fern says she better do it. What is with Fern's reluctance to let Stark help? I know, like, he's a scaredy cat, but he is strong enough to carry Frieren without any problems.
Fern also called Stark a pervert for offering to help.
I just don't get her, man.
There are a few theories that I have. Number one, she will become jealous that she is not being carried by Stark instead.
Whoa.
Ship,
That's
ship,
that's the
ship,
ship.
ship, ship, ship.
That's the ship theory. It's probably wrong. The next reason is that I think she was very possessive of Freerun. For a long time, it was just Fern and Freerun, and I don't know. Freerun's kind of like her mom, and it's like I don't know. It's like if my mom collapsed, would I want to carry her or hand her to like some guy who like I don't know I've known for a while, but it's my mom. You know what I mean? So I feel like Fern's just like she's like yeah, Freerun's like my mom, so like I'm the carrier. So that's kind of how I see it. Like she's very possessive, very protective of her because she cares that much about her.
I get that.
That makes sense.
Or it's the ship.
Or it's the ship.
I'm going to root for ship. Also, Frieren is either wielding magic or sleeping. There's no in between.
That seems pretty true.
Free run be wielding, free run be sleeping.
We get a flashback of Himmel explaining that the sword he used was a replica of the hero's sword. It was gifted to him from a merchant Himmel saved. The merchant said that Himmel would one day become a hero, but a certain orphan kid said he would only be a fake hero. That kid grew up to be a fake priest, and oh my god, Himmel and Hyder were best friends since childhood.
One, I really hope we get more Himmel and Hyder as kids being besties flashbacks. That could just be the spinoff.
I was going to say I would take a whole spin off of that. I'm fine. Let's do it.
And then, who was the hero before Himmel then?
Croft.
Yeah, I was gonna say how much. I was wondering if Croft had some sort of involvement with that, even if it wasn't Croft himself.
He could have been like 5 heroes ago for all we know.
What if Croft's the way that Freeren traveled with a group of heroes, Croft probably did the same thing.
I'm willing to bet.
Yeah, but I don't know. There's something about when they would flash over, like Himmel would give his speech, and they'd flash over to Hyder, and I always felt like he was making this like goofy face. I don't know why. Like it just like cracked me up kind of. I don't know. I like that we're kind of getting to know how the party got to know each other. And of course they have the weird moment where like the sun is shining and then like all the heroes turn around to look at her um kind of and the flower petals like blow in the wind behind Himmel, and I'm like, yeah, good memories, I guess. And I guess for her it was a pleasant dream. And she even looks at the end very briefly. It almost looks like she cracks a smile.
Frieren wakes up and says she underestimated the weather. She says they have to keep moving. Fern asks if she feels up to walking, but Frieren just hugs Fern tighter and says that she smells nice. Stark again offers
Wait,
his help.
that's what Stark said. Freeren's
Exactly.
like, you smell nice. It's the same dang thing that Stark said, except Freeren's not a pervert and Stark is.
That's what I'm saying. So Stark offers his help, and Fern just keeps walking and calls him a perv again. What is perverted about someone trying to help someone else in need?
Fern obviously knows the anime trope that Sean was talking about the other week, and Fern can't let Frieren and Stark be shipped.
I don't
That's
think that's ever
true.
happening.
She's actively preventing the fans from shipping Stark with Freeren. That's what it is.
I just don't see that one. Fern and Stark, yes, I'll give you that. I'm not against that. Frieren and Stark, no.
Well, it's because we already missed our chance for Himmel and Freeren.
Yeah,
That's I have a feeling that Freeren's gonna figure it out eventually, and those are going to be very ugly episodes, and I'm not gonna be okay by the end of them.
I kind of agree. I think that's gonna be the case. They make it through the blizzard and find a small village. The chief is a young girl who knows who Frieren is, which I feel like is a first. She welcomes Frieren back to the village of the sword. This village is the protector of the hero's sword. This is the old sword in the stone bit. 80 years ago, Himmel the hero took the sword and defeated the demons. The story's famous, but Fern is not familiar with it and says that Heiter never told her about it. Hmm. The chief girl yells at Frieren for being late coming back to the village in place of her late grandmother. The chief says that the village is able to protect itself, but the monster attacks are increasing and the Lord of the Mountain is causing issues. Frieren does not remember any Lord of the Mountain and says she will take care of it in the morning.
I
And we
do want
cut
to
to the next morning. Oh,
well,
go
I'll say
ahead.
before we go to the morning, number one, I love the little chief. She's very young, and it cracks me up. But here's the deal with this show: when your main character is immortal, and you meet young characters, you wonder the way the time skips might work in this show, and the way that they show the passage of time. This could just be arc one, and we actually may have more time skips in the future. What if they go to heaven here, right? They achieve, or they go to Aureole, and that's the end, and boom, we get another time skip. Boom, 30 years pass like nothing. That it could happen. What do they call it? Chekhov's gun? No, no, no. The smoking gun. I don't know. The point is that there's a thing here where they do a lot of foreshadowing. They lay pieces out in a story to give them to you later. This hero's sword, the fact that they're gonna leave this place without pulling out the sword, and they have a young chief. They are setting up bits for Free Rent to bring another group of heroes here, and maybe one pulls the sword, and maybe they meet the chief again. So I'm making a bold prediction and saying that in like season 3 or 4 of this show, Free Run's going to bring other heroes here, and those two things are going to happen.
I did not think about that. That is intriguing.
Everything they leave in this show can be revisited because Free Run's immortal. And having an immortal character is an extremely interesting way to tell a story because everything can be returned to.
We cut to the next morning, and the party is fighting a bunch of wolf monsters. They take the monsters out pretty easily, but then we meet the Lord of the Mountain.
We meet the Lord of the Mountain via sneak attack.
It's a large wolf monster that can stand on two legs. I like the design, but it is easily dispatched. The monsters were gathering outside the mouth of a cave. Inside the cave is the sword of the hero, still stuck inside the stone. Stark asks Frieren how could this be since Himmel pulled the sword out years ago. We find out that Himmel was unable to pull the sword and that he didn't mind being called a fake hero. Sorry to break it to you, Himmel, but you are the real deal.
This reminds me of that, like, people need something to believe in, and that's why they had to, like, to protect the story. Like, the people, the villagers, they needed to believe in Himmel, and they needed to believe that Himmel was the hero that was promised. And like, you can't be like, oh yeah, he didn't pull the stone, but he's still this great hero because people are gonna be like, oh, he's just a phony, he's a fake, he's a fraud, he's not that great.
I mean, you have to think about it that way, right? Like we idolize heroes of legend. People are almost fairy tales. Even the founding fathers of our country. Like we idolize these guys as geniuses and things like that, but like Ben Franklin was a pervert and half of them owned slaves. So like, they were humans as well, and men who achieved great things, but were not perfect beings. And when these stories happen, like great heroes of legend, um, they're perfect and of great moral integrity. And it's not always the case. Not everything went right for the heroes all the time. They fail sometimes, but in the stories they never do. And it's a really interesting insight here where they're kind of like, yeah, we just kind of don't correct people because, like, I don't know, it's just part of the story at this point. And I'm like, yeah, I like, why would you work so hard to, tell people he didn't do it? Yeah, just let people think it. I don't know. It makes the story better. It's fine. People like stories.
It sort of reminds me of the quote from The Dark Knight where he's like, if you can make yourself more than just a man, if you devote yourself to an ideal, and if they can't stop you, then you become something else entirely.
It's a good quote.
And then we're totally going to see Stark attempt to pull this sword out at some point, aren't we? Like, he kept having those weird, like, visual cuts to some other person that we end up finding out is his brother. There were a couple visual cues to him and the sword in this episode. It's like, oh, Stark is totally trying to pull this sword out at some point.
That makes me think about Sean's previous theory about people returning to this village later in the show. Really got me thinking.
I don't think Stark's gonna do it,
No?
but him and Fern's son,
Oh, ship,
maybe.
ship, ship,
Ship,
ship.
ship, ship.
Ship, 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 ship.
You got me on the ship train now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like their son. It's like they don't even like talking to each other.
Give it time. They're young.
To be fair, they're actually more friendly than a lot of like anime boys and girls. Um, like they don't do like the super tsundere thing where like Furnish treats him like trash all the time. There are plenty of instances in the show where she's perfectly nice to Stark. Actually, it's just like the weird moments where I think she kind of just like feels kind of awkward where she calls him a pervert. As a defense mechanism. Like she's mostly actually like they actually get along. Like you see them hanging out all the time when they go to these towns.
I don't know. A lot seems off. There have been a few times where she's been nice to him. Maybe like 3 or 4, and the rest of the time I feel like she's way cold or just calling him a pervert and leaving him.
Maybe I just filled in some of those montage blanks with my imagination.
I would like to see her be more friendly to him. I think she's way too cold towards him, unnecessarily so, when he has not really done anything to upset her.
This is the ship episode.
It's gonna happen. I think so. We just got to give it more time. 29 years after the death of Himmel the hero, in the Appetit region, located in the northern lands.
Hey, hold up. Sorry. Did we just go to 29? Did we just tick?
Yeah,
Because I would say last time you gave us the transition, I think it was 28.
yeah, because they spent 6 months of winter in that house. We hit a new year.
Holy crap!
Finally, we've been in year 28 for a while now. The party travels to the next town, and they get to stay a while. We find out that it is Stark's 18th birthday. Happy birthday, buddy. Fern asks why Frieren didn't tell her sooner, and that she has no idea what to get him. Frieren just chuckles and asks whose fault that is. Fern asks if Frieren has a present for him, and Frieren jumps out of bed and runs over to her suitcase. She starts rummaging through all their stuff, throwing stuff aside, and she finally reveals Stark's gift, that potion that dissolves clothing. Why does she still have that thing?
Because she knew she might need it at some point.
That's what her master said. Her master said men love this stuff, so she's like, in case I ever need to give a gift to a man, I'll just hold on to this.
I will say, maybe if Fern wasn't always so mean to Stark, she would know what to get him. I mean, the dudes always talk about that sundae. Get him an ice cream sundae.
Right?
But also, it's totally ship time. Ship, ship,
Yes.
Ship,
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 Yes,
ship,
the
ship,
ship
ship.
ship.
episode. Ship. Also, though, by the way, I do want to say I love how smug Frieren is when she was talking about it. She's like, friend, this is the perfect gift. Like you don't understand. Like my master explained exactly what men want. And it's a potion that dissolves clothing.
I lost it at that grin that Frieren had on her face when she was talking about it.
And it's the look and, like, the confidence, like, "There's no way you can one up me. This is the best gift ever," in your face. Just makes me laugh.
Yeah, like I said, her confidence through the roof. So smug.
Frieren says that her master told her that that is the best gift to give to men, and Fern just gets mad and grabs the bottle from her hand and dumps it all over Frieren. Fern says she told Frieren to return it and then storms off. Frieren is sad because it was expensive.
Yeah, I also want to shout out the scene on the scene when they're talking and she's like on the bed kicking her feet. I was like, you perverted animators. That's it. They do this crap all the time in anime where they're like, we gotta prominently display the feet. These Japanese men, I don't know, man.
Fern runs all over town trying to find Stark to see what kind of gift he wants. She meets all the people he helped out, but it takes until sunset to finally find him. Stark is staring at some clouds that look like huge boobs and poop.
He called the shit poop.
He says he'll have to tell Fern later. Fern realizes Stark is just immature. I got news for you, honey. Most guys are that way. It never wears off. We just hide it well.
Not to progress the ship idea here, but how Fern was like ducking back behind the wall and like didn't want to like sneak up on Stark and like saw him thinking. Is Fern growing a crush on Stark here?
This is a good question because I was wondering kind of the same thing. The way that they frame, like the image of him staring at the clouds, after she walked around town and heard all these people say all the nice things he did for them, you're like, she's thinking like, wow, he's only been in this town for a day and he's helped like 3 to 4 people. And he helped 3 people, he played with kids. Like he's actually like a really good guy and maybe I'm too hard on him. And she like watches him like looking at the sun, I'm sorry, at the clouds. And she's like, wow, maybe he's not too bad looking either. Of course, then he ruins himself with the immature comments. But at the same time, uh, I think maybe she actually respects him a little bit. Would be nice.
Fern asks Stark what he wants for a birthday gift, but Stark says he's never received a birthday gift before. We finally get some backstory for Mr. Stark. Stark's family were warriors, and his older brother Stoltz was the strongest warrior in the village. But Stark ran away from the village when it was attacked by demons. Fern wants to make Stark feel better and tells him to pick out a gift. I love that he picks out like the gold bracelet and she immediately says, "No, that's too expensive."
I got a good laugh out of that too. It's like even when Fern is trying to be nice, she's like, "No, try again." And I loved getting Stark backstory, and I really hope we get more of it. I feel so bad for Stark. His father hated him.
Yeah, he was incredibly mean.
The family disappointment. I'm like, the guy's 10. He hasn't even hit puberty yet. Like, let the kid grow up a little bit before you judge him. Yeah, you know why he's not as strong as his brother? Because it looks like there's an 8-year age gap.
At least.
At least, yeah, maybe more.
Stark is totally pulling the sword out.
I don't know. I'm kind of feeling it after this. That might be a thing.
I don't think they're going back.
I don't know. We got more visual cues between him and the sword.
Yeah, they did give us the visual cues, didn't they?
Yeah.
But he uses an axe, guys. He can't use a sword.
Maybe he evolves his weaponry.
But he trained with the axe. I don't know.
The axe could break, and he needs a weapon. He's like, all right, we need to go back to the town. I have a feeling. And he just yoink pulls the sword right out.
I guess it could happen. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's gonna happen later. Not with him either. But I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. I'd be okay with that.
Stark and Fern meet Frieren, who is cooking giant Hamburg steaks.
Wait. I do want to throw it out there. On the way back to the house, they showed the scene of him like wearing the jewelry,
Yes.
and
Mm-hmm.
they showed them walking, and I'm like, those hands are a little too close together there.
They sure were.
Yeah, I was like, those are some close hands. I watch way too much slice of life romance anime. Like this is what I'm all about. If you guys think I'm passionate about a bunch of the other topics on here, shipping is like the number one most passionate topic, and I'll never back down. So yeah, but I don't know. I was just thinking those hands are a little close together. That's all.
Maybe the next time we get a close up of their hands, they slowly inch towards each other and grasp each other.
That's what I'm saying.
They got a bump first. Be like, oh, I'm sorry.
That's a good.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
give
Gotta
me
Uh
slowly build. Gotta slowly build that ship.
give me tropes even more delicious than this Hamburg steak.
huh. I was too distracted by the food. So Freeren's making these giant Hamburg steaks, and we find that Eisen always made these for Stark's birthday. I would call that a gift. The Hamburg steak is made for warriors who work hard. We then get another flashback to the demon attacking Stark's village, and his brother Stoltz tells Stark to run so he could live. While the group eats dinner, Frieren offers Stark what is left of the potion she was able to salvage. Fern gets mad. Again.
One, those Hamburg steaks look amazing, but I really love the meaning behind the Hamburg steaks, and we even see Stoltz making a Hamburg steak with Stark. And a quote I really loved from this was in the flashback how Eisen was like, anyone who works hard is a warrior. Because I feel like everyone's like, oh, warrior, they have to be strong, they have to be big, they have to be tough, they have to be this and this and this. And Eisen's like, no. If you work hard, you're a warrior. Whether it be like in battle or at home or whatever it might be. And it was just a neat, cool way of thinking about it.
It don't gotta go to war to be a warrior, I guess. This scene reminded me of something. Do you remember earlier in the episode when Freerun was going through her suitcase and she saw if you look, the recipe for the hamburger steak is in her suitcase. But she also like grabs a ring instead. Did we talk about the ring at all?
We didn't. And
No.
I was wondering what that ring was for.
I'm going to be livid. Okay, she obviously carries some mementos of other people who are like important, right? Like the whether she realizes it or not, obviously that her traveling party from before was important to her. And Eisen's recipe is still there. Mostly probably because of her connection to Eisen, and more so than her actually wanting to make the hamburger steak. I am going to be peeved, beyond peeved, if this is like if this is Himmel giving her a ring and her saying thank you and not realizing that he was like proposing to her or like giving it as a gift of affection or something like that, I'm going to be so mad. Like I'm going to be livid.
I could totally see that happening.
Oh, you guys are crazy. We definitely never see that ring ever again.
That
Hmm.
sounds suspicious, Turtle.
I was gonna say, Turtle, you're being pretty suspicious over there.
I was gonna say for what a weird thing to say from a guy who's watched a few episodes ahead.
So what do you guys think about these two episodes?
Hold on, before we talk about the next these episodes, I love how Fern was calling Stark a pervert for asking about the potion when he knows nothing about the potion.
See, she's being mean for no reason.
She's
This
like,
poor
"Don't be a
man.
per." She's like, "Don't be a pervert." He's like, "What? What does the potion do? I don't know."
They play it off for laughs, but it definitely upsets me how cold she is to him for stuff like this. He has no idea what that even is. But what do you guys think about these two episodes?
I'll go. Um, Honestly, extremely good episodes. Like man, like I was worried we weren't gonna get much more on Stark, and now we know like why he's an orphan. His upbringing where like his parents pretty much hated him, but he idolized his big brother who actually saved his life. So good good on his brother, right, for saving him, because he's like, dude, don't die fighting this demon. Like, go, go live.
Stark was trying to fight the demon with a wooden stick.
Yeah, he wasn't well equipped, was he?
You know, and it brings me great sadness that Stark carries that guilt with him, because, like, in his mind, he's a coward, but in truth, he would have died instantly. So, but it still doesn't make him any less guilty. And I love the Stark has complex feelings. He's not a one note character. He's not comic relief. He's not just like a big brute who's mindless. He's actually, like, he's written like a human being who has like a kind of tragic backstory and thoughts and feelings about that he is still trying to process. Like, we follow three characters, and I feel like all three characters have had, like, they've had very interesting lives and backstories, and I really want to see what they do with them, and if we ever get a fourth party member. But besides that, I also wanted to point out that, just, at the beginning, we started off our two episodes with one heck of, like, an ending to an arc, and here we are here. Every time an arc ends, you wonder, how's the bounce back going to be? Is the next arc going to be as good? Is the next episode going to be as good? Honestly, I think I liked the second episode we watched today even better than the first. But they were both fantastic episodes, and they left so many open lines out there. I won't call them loose ends, but, like, we met another elf. We had the sword mentioned. We have the short chief who says, like, every 50 years or so these monsters have to be exterminated, so something can happen 50 years from now. And we got the ring, like the glimpse into the ring, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this show does such a good job of, like, giving you little, like, teasers, maybe, or they do a really good job with foreshadowing and, like, leaving plot lines open. And they may never revisit these. Maybe we never see the elf guy again. Maybe we never Croft. That's it. Yeah, maybe we never see Croft again. Maybe we never see the hero sword again. These things could happen, but they might not. So I really like the way that they tell stories, because with an immortal character, anything can happen. So great two episodes. I need to watch the next two.
How about you, Mike?
I really dug these episodes. At the end of last week, I made mention of being worried about a possible letdown after that mini arc concluded. And Sean, I think you made it perfectly made mention of, like, usually after these arcs you get a letdown, and we really didn't. Like, episode 5 sort of put a nice cap on the arc with them leaving town and learning about being a certified mage and whatnot. But, like, we didn't really get a letdown. I really liked both episodes, really enjoyed them. They were both very quick watches. And like you said, we get so many possible paths for the story to go from here, and for so many callbacks in the future, whether it be this season or future seasons that they could come back to. We have the mage certifications. We have the sword in the stone. We have Croft. Like, there's so many things that we can come back to. We have the Fern and Stark ship to come back to.
We get that every week.
It's happening.
We get the slow build to that.
It's happening. And I mean, we had great flashbacks. I feel like every week we get really great flashbacks in this show. And we got some amazing montages per usual. Just, this show is hitting so many boxes, and I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say that's not been said already. I've said it multiple times. I will say it again. This has become one of my all-time favorite shows, bar none. It's just so well done. Great characters. These were great episodes. We're going to move straight on to the waifu of the week. Mike, why don't you kick us off? Who is your waifu of the week and why?
I'm going to go with the birthday boy, and that's Stark. I just loved him. I mean, he's been great since we met him, but one, I felt bad for him when we learned about his backstory on why he became an orphan. And, like, we learned that he's not just, like, some comedic character. Like, he has a tragic backstory. And, like, even Fern is starting to warm up to him a little bit. A little bit. I won't say it's like, wow. But she's definitely getting a little warmer towards him. She was, like, thought he was being an ass whenever he said he never received it, like, was questioning the birthday gift. And it's like, oh, no, like, that's just not something his family did. So, like, it was awesome to see so much Stark backstory. It was funny watching him dream about this ice cream sundae when he was passed out from the blizzard. And he's just a great character, and he's totally pulling that sword. And also, Ship! Ship! Ship!
Sean, who is your waifu of the week and why?
I'm gonna pick the other half of the ship, Fern. You might think, well, Stark's kind of the obvious choice. However, I did want to say that Fern carried this episode on her back. When I say she carried this episode on her back, I mean she literally carried two of the characters on her back through the snow. So she gets points for that. Yeah, I like that she made the effort to save them. Though I guess she didn't necessarily have to carry Frieren. I thought that wasting the clothes potion was kind of funny. But you have to think about it from Fern's point of view. She's like, if you give Stark that potion, either he's gonna screw up and dump it on himself, and I'm gonna have to see him naked, or he's eventually gonna try and use this crap on me, and I don't want any of that, right? So, I guess for her, I don't blame her for dumping the potion. Therefore, it cannot be used for evil. So I don't know. I like that she went around and learned things about Stark, and maybe she's coming back around. So. Yeah, I don't know. I just picked Fern.
Now, just to mention, we did get that spell earlier, and Fern definitely saw Stark naked. Just throwing that out there.
Oh, has that happened?
Yeah, she got the spell to see through clothes.
Oh, crap. Yeah, never mind. She already saw him naked.
Yep.
Oh, that's right.
Mhm.
Yeah, she said he had a tiny.
Said it was so small.
Yep.
Said it was small. Which he responded with, nothing on him is small.
Well, poor guy.
My waifu of the week, I'm going with Himmel. Again, I mentioned this, I think, in like the very first episode. I feel like, we don't get a lot of Himmel in all these episodes. And any excuse for me to pick him, I'm going to. I'm very interested on his character. In fact, I would like to see a whole, spin-off prequel show of the actual journey and get more Himmel. I really like his character. And I really like the moment, when he tries to pull the sword and fails, instead of like feeling sad or depressed or bummed out, like, oh, I couldn't do it, I'm not a real hero. He said, I don't care if I'm a real hero or not, I'm still going to beat the Demon King. So I really admire him as a character. I think he seems like a great person to hang out with, a good person to journey with, and a good friend. So I'm going with Himmel. Thank you all for joining us this week as we watched Frieren Beyond Journey's End. We hope you join us next week for episode 46 of the Anime Banter podcast, where we will watch episodes 13 and 14 of Frieren. Please give us a 5-star review on all platforms that allow reviews. If you are listening on YouTube, please like the video, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Sean, do you have anything you would like to plug?
Nah, just Demon Files. I don't know. Go listen to the thing.
Do the thing. Mike, how about you?
Yeah, the Anime Banter podcast. That show you're listening to right now. We can be found on Facebook, X, Threads, Instagram, and YouTube.
Thank you all for joining, and we will talk to you next week.